Good day, all. I want to thank you for continuing to support this channel. It means quite a lot to me. I need to clarify a few things. This is by no means anything related to a sermon. If at all, it is the purpose of this channel is to share some biblical truths, things that we have taken for granted, and things that we had not even bothered to look at them the second time, because we have trusted in those that have told us. A few years ago, say 10, 20, maybe even 30 years ago, you would not find people discussing the Bible. Not at all. Because people took it that we all believe. And in fact, if you don't believe, at least if you don't believe in Jesus, because a lot of people have always known about God, including, our ancestors who were not influenced by the arrival of the colonialists. They knew that there was a God who created the universe. They had that information. But they did not know so much about Jesus and Christianity and the divisions that are there in the churches and so on. Those were brought to us by colonizers who came, each of them, they came with their own type of religion. For instance, the Portuguese, when they landed here, the Portuguese came with Catholicism because they were Catholics. The Dutch, when they came here, they came with Dutch Reformed Church. The English, when they came here, they came with Anglican Church, Anglican and Methodist. Although we were not colonized by the Germans colonized Namibia. So the influence of their church and their religion, affected us. Or, it spilled over South Africa. And their religion or their church or their belief was Lutheranism. So in South Africa, at the very early stages of the arrival of colonialists, we had Catholicism, we had Anglicanism and Methodism, and then we have Lutheranism, and then all sorts of other divisions were introduced to us. Apostolic faith, baptismal, this and that. And they all spread. The latest that we had was the charismatic. And the charismatic was slowly introduced to us. It came from America largely. And we got to know about it because of television. You will remember the earliest televangelists were people like Jimmy Swaggart, were televised on TV. And most of us then copied. We copied. And, we became. Some of us, depending on how close you were with the missionary that came to our shore, you became what was available. So I became a Catholic because my parents were Catholics. Interestingly enough, my parents says their parents were Anglican. So it means the closest church for them when they were raised was Anglicanism. It makes sense because the Anglicans came with the British. And so our parents, if you ask them, our parents, someone my age, their parents now would be well over 80. They didn't do Bantu education. but they did what they called royal education. So it was education that came from Britain. So a lot of us just joined these churches without knowing what we are joining. We believed because we're told. And strangely enough, we were persuaded by people who were colonizing us. And so we took their religion. Now, where am I getting at with this? If the church was willing to let us believe that Jesus was a white person, was a European, with long hair, with blue eyes, with a light skin. They even had statues of Jesus in their churches. If you walk into the Anglican or Catholic church, you'll find, even today, the statues of Jesus, Joseph, Mary, and they're white. They lied. Because in the Middle East, during the time of Jesus, there was no white person except for those who invaded Europe. Except for those who invaded Judea and Israel in general. The Romans, the Greeks, and so on. Those were white. But people who dwelt in the Middle East, they were dark in complexion. They were brown, dark in complexion, some of them. So Jesus could not have been white. There's an interesting passage in the book of Acts where Paul is arrested by the Roman centurions. So when Paul is arrested, he's arrested at the temple after he had broken it's not a fast, but he had taken an oath of Nazarene. So when you take an oath of Nazarene, you go for a period of 7 days, some people 30 days. So I think he had taken 7 days. And after that, you go through a period of purification. When he was done with that, he went to the temple. And some Jews identified him, and they said that this is the guy who is going about preaching a different doctrine. He's deviating from Judaism. And so the Jews wanted to kill him, as it is narrated in the book of Acts. So as they thronged on him, the centurion, the Roman centurion, intervened, and they arrested him. They took him away from the Jews. But as they were taking him away from the Jews, Paul says, "Can I speak?" And he says this in Greek. He says to the commander, "Can I speak?" He wanted to address the crowd that wanted to beat him up and kill him. So the centurion looks at Paul and says, "What?" Okay, those are my words. "Can you speak Greek?" Now he's surprised. Why is he surprised? He says to Paul, "Can you speak Greek?" He was not expecting a Jew to be able to speak Greek. Paul was speaking Greek. He says to Paul, and please look it up. It's in Acts 21. Read the whole chapter, Acts 21. I'm just telling a story, but read all of it. Acts 21. From verse 1 to the last verse, I think, 40. Read it. The Roman commander says to Paul, "What? Can you speak Greek? Are you not the Egyptian?" Listen to this. He says, "Are you not the Egyptian who caused an uprising?" That's the part I'm interested. I'm not interested in the rest of the story. Why would the Romans mistaken Paul for an Egyptian? Paul was a Jew. and he was mistaken for an Egyptian. Do you get where I'm going with this? Egyptians were black, pitch black. The Egyptians of those times were pitch black, darker than me. So this centurion says, this commander says, what? You can speak Greek in the first place? Are you not the Egyptian? What does that tell you? Paul was not white. And so were many Jews who lived during that time. But people who were preaching to us were prepared to lie to us. This is a lie that the church has been telling us. You go to any Roman Catholic church or any Anglican church today, look around you, the pictures of Jesus. He was not white. No, he wasn't. The people in the Middle East during that time, the majority of them are the generation of Shem and Ham or Ham. They were not white. They were black or brown. They were not white. The word Ham in Hebrew, it means bent, something that is bent or brown or black. That's what it means. That's why a lot of people believe that the generation of Ham or Ham is black people and they are cursed. That's what people want us to believe, that because black people came from Ham, and Ham was cursed. The fourth child of Ham was cursed by Noah. You know the story. Noah cursed the Canaanites. I won't go through the story, but read the story of Noah. Just in brief, Ham walked into the tent after Noah had had wine, and he was naked. and Ham made a joke out of it. He called his brother, he was joking about it, but his brothers were embarrassed. Shem and Japheth. They were embarrassed. But that's another story. Now, the generations of these guys, because the earth was repopulated by the children of Noah, Japheth, Shem, and Ham. The whole earth was repopulated by these three guys and their wives. And at least we know that Ham was black, because the names of people in Hebrew are important. Sometimes they describe your complexion. Sometimes they describe your destiny. Sometimes they describe who that's destiny. Like Abraham, the father of multitudes. Judah, praise, the one to be praised. In a very strange way, the Jews are praised in a very strange way. I will explain one day. But the name of the Jews is in the tongues of many people, positively or negatively. And that's the name of Judah. He will be praised. Yehuda in Hebrew, Yehuda, he will be praised. So the church lied, and the church continued with many other lies. Amongst others is that Jesus is the founder of Christianity. Jesus was a Jew. He wasn't a Christian. Jesus instructed his apostles to go not to the way of the Gentiles, but to go and preach to the Jews. So it was Paul who came with a revelation and said, I got a vision from Jesus. And once a person says, I've got a vision, no one is able to say anything, because you don't want to be seen to be doubting someone who has spiritual, connections. So Paul began to preach a different gospel altogether, contradicting Jesus and contradicting the entire Torah, Old Testament, Tanakh. Judge for yourself. Read Acts, but read the generation of Noah. Understand the names of people that are listed there, names of people that are mentioned in the Bible. Take an interest in those words. But also, if the population if the earth was populated by these three, Yafet, Shem, and Ham, Yafet went to Europe to settle there. These two, they stayed in the Middle East. Shem and Ham. They intermarried. Their children intermarried. It's a fascinating story. But they were not Europeans. They were not Europeans. Their names, many of them, will tell you that they were not Europeans. I want to leave it here today. Because, each time I want to get to the bone of the discussion of who Jesus was and what the Bible is saying. Let's look at the text. Let's compare with the Old Testament. I get a feeling I must say something, clarify something, so it gets in the way. We will look at it some other time. I won't promise that it will come in the next video. But I thought I should share with you this one. If you want, we can go through a number of names in the Bible. And I will explain to you that this one means this. I know a little bit of Hebrew. This one means this. And it tells you something about that person, about his generation, about people around that person. Please continue to support this channel. If you find it worthwhile, share it with other people. Pass it on to other people. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying, because we tend to share things that we agree with. You don't have to agree, but share with whomever you think is, would have an interest, would raise questions. I'll be interested in hearing from you. Thank you very much. Till next time.